Hello, thank you so much for joining us for GlamSci's next instalment of our Careers Advice Programme. So today we're going to be looking at how to read role descriptions and how to use the STAR framework. Some of you may have heard of the STAR framework before. Some of you may have heard of the CAR framework, but today we're going to be focusing on the STAR framework and how that works when reading role descriptions and how to tailor the STAR framework into your CV. So, in our last session, we looked at the different types of career pathways that were available and how those pathways worked. So with those pathways in mind, you'll not only need the qualifications for those pathways, but you'll also need a signed out CV, covering letter, personal statement that will really sell yourself to potential employers. So you should be showing your employers at using these tools that you have the skills as well as the qualifications for your particular role. And this is where a lot of CVs tend to be overlooked. I know myself when I've gone through CVs for GlamSci that if I don't feel engaged by the CV, by the first paragraph, the first opening statement about yourself, or the first paragraph of your covering letter, I won't read on. I will dismiss that CV. But if you really sell yourself, if you really make it personable to you and make yourself shine, it will really help engage a potential employer to read on and read more. So by tailoring your CV to your chosen career path, it can really help your CV stand out. Now, a lot of people think that you need to make a generic CV, place all of your qualifications, all of your skills onto it, and send it out to every single employer. That is the worst mistake that you can make. A CV should be personalised to the particular career path that you're focused upon. So if you were applying to a hospitality role, they wouldn't want to know about your skills in bricklaying or electrician work. They would be more interested about your culinary arts skills, your creativity skills, your ability to work safely, your knowledge of health and safety, all of those kind of things. So we can really pull apart our CV, add those extra soft skills and show where we've used those soft skills and provide evidence for it. So that is where our STAR framework comes into play. So this is introducing our STAR framework. So our STAR framework can be really useful when you're tailoring your CV for a particular role, as well as adding to covering letters, answering interview questions, to really give an employer a flavour of who you are as a person. So the STAR framework looks like this. So STAR stands for situation, the situation you've had to deal with. So introduction to where a particular soft skill was really highlighted. The task that you were given to do, so the task that highlighted that skill. The action that you undertook to meet that task. And then finally, the result, what you learned from that action, what you learned from that particular experience. So the result of what happened. So this is us putting our STAR framework into play. So in our example, our first step would be to describe our situation or tasks. So it depends on the type of question that you're asked, or it depends on the type of skill that you're trying to highlight. But what we want to do is make it concise, informative, but not full of waffle. We don't want to hear loads of detail, but we want to really highlight that key skill. So for example here, if a person's asking you a question about a situation where you had to deal with a particularly difficult person, you would want to explain how you came to meet that person and why they were difficult. If the question was asking about teamwork, you'd want to explain the task that you had to undertake as a team, why it was difficult, why it required a team of people, who was on that team of people. All those kinds of details we'd need to know. The next step that we'd focus on is our action. So we would need to be able to demonstrate and highlight that particular soft skill or skill that we've learned. So for this, we would need to remember to mention the following. We need to make sure that we mention ourselves. It sounds like it's quite obvious, but we need to make it personal. We're not talking about a team that we're hiring. We're talking about you as an individual. So you need to make yourself shine. You need to be speaking in the first person, saying, I did this, I thought that, I met this person then. So make it in the first person, talk about you, which can be really difficult, I know, but make it about you. Next thing is go into detail. Don't assume that your interviewer, don't assume that your person reading your CV will know exactly what you mean. Spell it out. Don't waffle, but spell it out. What did you do? And stay clear of technical information. You don't need to use technical information to make yourself sound like an expert in your field. The person that would be reading your CV may not be in the same department that you're applying for, or maybe be a completely different type of person entirely. They may be from HR, they may be from a different branch, they may not be in the same local area that you're applying for. So take those ideas into account. Stay clear of that technical information, any acronyms, unless it's definitely crucial to your story or it's a common acronym. So you wouldn't need to say things like the National Health Service. It's okay to say NHS. And then lastly, explain what you did, how you did it, and why you did it. So the 4 W's comes into play here: who, what, when, and why. So this is how you can start to sell your most important skills. So some people may not feel like they've got many important skills, but by highlighting them using this framework, it really makes any skill about yourself shine. And we're going to have a little look at some examples to see how that works. But the last step before we move on is our result. And this is really the most important step here. We want to explain what happened, finish our story, how it all ended. So it gives you an opportunity to describe your achievement, your accomplishment, and describe what you learned in that situation. Now, critical thinking and being able to reflect on what you've learned given a particularly tough situation is crucial to a lot of roles and a lot of careers. So by being able to critically analyze yourself, to be able to say, and from that situation, I then learned that I needed to work on my customer service skills, would really interest employers, because not a lot of people are happy to quickly admit any shortcomings. They're quickly to gloss over them. But by being open and upfront and telling people what you've learned from that situation will really, really impress employers and help you shine in that interview, in that CV, in that covering letter. So we want to make it as intense as possible, and to show that you've achieved a specific objection. So something that you've wanted to achieve, something that was made possible by carrying out this task, and it wasn't simply done by chance. So it wasn't a luck of the draw that this situation ended how it did. So let's have a little look at using an example of our style. So we've got a really common question here. So tell me about a time that you faced a problem at work and how did you handle it? Now, this question could be particularly tricky to answer if you've not got your framework in mind. So the way that we would want to do this is by taking each letter of our acronym at a time. So we're going to start first with our situation. So for example here, let's move my face up so we can see the entire example. So this was a statement about a person that was working in a florist and had a mix-up and had an order for flowers for 2 weddings that were mixed up and were delivered to the wrong venues. So perfect situation here to bring up for our S of our star. The next was the task. So the task that this person had to undertake. So this person had to get the flowers to the right place at the right times and apologise to both customers. That was the task that was set from that situation. The next thing would be the action, so what they did. So that person told their boss that they would deal with that mistake and spoke to both customers. So they then traveled to both venues, swapped the flowers out in time, apologized in person. So very personal, again, very much holding themselves accountable, and gave both of the customers a voucher for a bouquet as a compensation. So that was the action that they undertook. They dealt with the mistake, and then they provided a voucher for the inconvenience. The last part here is our result. So the customers would have been grateful for how quickly they acted, and the customers came back to the shop for repeat customs. So that really shows the employer that not only can you be held accountable for your mistake, that you can bring back return custom, that you were very action driven, you were quite resilient because you didn't falter under the pressure of making a mistake. It shows a lot about you as an individual answering a question this kind of way. So it can be quite hard to think of an example off the top of your head, but think situation, task, the action I took, what was the result of that, and you won't go far wrong. So role descriptions now. So some of you may have role descriptions in mind, some of you may have not met many role descriptions, and they can be a little bit tricky to pull apart to apply that STAR framework. So let's have a little look at, first of all, where we can find role descriptions, where we can find jobs. So we generally find roles in these kinds of places. So on online websites, but be a little bit careful, because sometimes the job roles that you can apply for may not be as truthful as you may think they are. As with anything on the internet, always take the information you read online with a grain of salt, and always double check with other websites that that information that you're reading is valid. I have had personal friends and other volunteers that have applied for roles, and it turns out those jobs were fraudulent. So using reputable websites, things like Indeed, Reed, Monster, LinkedIn, and the UK government website, they're all really good places to find roles, but there are loads more. But just always double check where that information comes from, particularly if you're applying for a first role or after a career break. So local news, so local newspapers, local job pages. So these may seem a little bit old-fashioned, but they're also a great place to find part-time work, casual work, short contracts, that type of thing. Any advertisements in business windows. So again, business windows will tend to advertise staff that's needed in that particular store. And then also at your local job centre. So your job centre will have roles available for you to apply for, particularly if you're on things like income support, universal credit, that type of thing. Their role there is to help you secure a job, help you secure work. And then lastly, word of mouth. So you can ask friends, do you know if any jobs are going anywhere? If any jobs are going in your office, or friends or family, if you want to go and work with friends and family, if you want to go and work on your father's construction site, or on your best mate's father's. Word of mouth really gets overlooked in our job market, but you can find a lot of roles by talking to people, by getting yourself out there and finding out what's available in your local community. So we're going to have a little look at some role descriptions here. And what we're going to do is that we're going to highlight key points, and we'll then talk about those particular key points. And then what we'll do is that we'll apply those key points, those key ideas, to a covering letter, a CV, and then a couple of questions from interviewers, a couple of common questions. So first of all, let's have a little look at this role description here for a kitchen assistant. So this I pulled from the government website, proper role that was placed online, looking for a kitchen assistant. So none of these are made up, but the responses that come out from these are. So let's have a little look at this role here. So as a kitchen assistant, you are the heart of our operation, and we are looking for individuals who share our energy and passion and will contribute to our ongoing success. You'll be working in a team full of fantastic people as a kitchen assistant. After all, who doesn't dream about coming into work, doing what they love and spending time with friends? The tasks that you'll undertake are undertaking basic food preparation, maintaining the cleanliness of all kitchens and surrounding work areas, ensuring the correct use of all machinery and equipment, assisting as required when loading or unloading deliveries and supply vehicles, performing other general tasks to support effective food delivery service as reasonably requested, and comply with all client and company and health and safety procedures and standards. So it doesn't matter if you've never worked as a kitchen assistant before. What does matter to us most is taking pride in what you do and a willingness to learn. So great role description here, very, very informative. So let's highlight those particular key points that we'd want to make use of when applying for this particular role. So let's bring our role description up. So we can see here that we've got things highlighted in teal, and we've got them highlighted in yellow and green here. So with our teal, we've highlighted the softer skills that we're looking for here. So we can see here straight away that you are the heart of our operation. We're looking for someone who shares our passion. We're looking for someone that dreams about coming into work and spending time doing what they love and spending time with their friends. What matters to us most is a pride in what you do and a willingness to learn. These are all suggesting that they're looking for someone quite personable. We've got our skills here that are highlighted in yellow. So these skills would be the ones that we'd want to hit if you have those particular skill sets. Now, sometimes when you're applying for roles, you may not have your particular skill set there. You may be newly starting out. You may not have had a job before, but being open, being upfront about that is not an issue. Employers will want you to be upfront, but will want you to show an eagerness to join their organisation, to join their ranks, their role, and make it their own. They'd want you to be passionate about what you do. So if you don't always have all of the skills, we can highlight different aspects of your personality to meet those skills. So we'll look at that more when we're looking at how to tailor a CV for a particular role, which will be in the next few weeks. A big thing that we've highlighted here in green is it doesn't matter if you've never worked as a kitchen assistant before. So they are looking for someone that may not have all of those skills highlighted in yellow. So the major points that we take from this are that it's slightly less formal than most role descriptions. So they might prefer a slightly less formal approach. So I'm not saying address them as friends, but address them in a less formal matter, or formal manner rather. Show your commitment, show your ability to demonstrate your passion for work and your passion for cooking and your team. That will take you really, really far in this role. And then typical requests of the role. But as it says, and as I mentioned before, it doesn't matter if you've never worked as a kitchen assistant before, or if you've not had a lot of kitchen experience, we can show these skills in another way. So let's have a little look at a good response to applying for this particular role. So we'll look first of all at a covering letter. So here is our covering letter. This one's fairly brief. We can make it a little bit longer if we've got more to talk about, but this is a perfect starter covering letter for this particular role. So, dear sir or madam, I am writing to apply for the role of kitchen assistant at your establishment. I've always had a deep fascination with all forms of cooking and baking, and I'm looking for a first-time role where I can learn on the job and be trained in a very supportive, close-knit organisation that will support my interest in the hospitality industry. So I've highlighted that last sentence. That's showing your potential employer straight away that you're personable. You've got an interest, you've got a fascination with cooking straight off the bat, and that you're looking for a first-time role. So you're upfront about the fact that you may not have had lots of work experience beforehand, and that it shows that you want to be in a supportive, close-knit organisation. It's mirroring what they've got in their role description. It suggests a very personable organisation. So you're showing them that you are also personable, that you'd be a good fit. So it's less formal, it's less cold, and a bit more tailored for that particular role. So although I haven't had much experience in a formal kitchen environment, I have had experience supporting my mother in her at-home bakery business, where I supported my mother in fulfilling clientele's orders. So this part's highlighted as well, because this is where we pop in a little bit of background information about yourself and apply that STAR framework. So our situation is the at-home bakery. The tasks that they would do is they developed great creativity, problem-solving skills as they supported their mother in decorating cakes to clients' orders. The action that they undertook is that they have taken orders from clientele, supported in brief design, kept the client informed of their up-and-coming orders, and if any changes needed to happen to the brief. So those would be our actions. So the result of that has meant that the person's mother has been able to keep doing their at-home business and flourish during lockdown and provide for a family that may have lost their particular income when their mother was on furlough. So STAR straight away in there. You can pop it into your covering letter like this because it makes you, again, more personable. It's not just a cut and copy. I'm applying for this role. Please find my CV attached. I'm ready for an interview at your latest convenience. This gives you a much more of a flavour of that person, who they are, what they stand for, why they're applying for the role, etc. So I have also, in my spare time, signed up to my local FE college to begin the process of training for my level 1 course in culinary skills, which I hope will support me in applying for this opportunity. So by showing initiative, showing that drive straight away, you'll be surprised by how many employers are impressed by that self-strong initiative. Please find enclosed a copy of my CV, and references can be requested as needed. Again, common statement to find in most covering letters. Still pop it in there as it shows that it's a semi-formal letter, not just a letter to a friend. So we finished here with best wishes, Carla Wilson. So best wishes was chosen here to sign off with, again, because it shows that personable aspect, but it's not as informal as just signing off your name. If this was more of a formal application, we may finish it with yours sincerely if you don't know the person, yours faithfully if you've met the person before, or if you met the person when applying for the role, handing in your CV. But in a more informal setting like this, best wishes is the best way to sign off a covering letter if you're making it slightly less formal. So perfect use of STAR here. So let's have a little look at a different role and how we would highlight that role description, how we'd pull that one apart. So we're looking at an apprentice hairdresser. Slightly different role, as we're looking more at an apprenticeship rather than just a straight job role, but they both work in very similar ways. You still have to apply in similar ways as well. So apprentice hairdresser. So this role involves assisting with the upkeep of the salon, dealing with clients, carrying out hairdressing services and assisting colleagues. You will be developing valuable practical skills by working in a salon environment and being exposed to a high standard of professional hairdressing on a day-to-day basis. The practical skills you will learn will be underpinned by the theoretical aspects and gain a nationally recognised hairdressing qualification and apprenticeship certificate. The apprenticeship is delivered in partnership with training provider ITS and includes English and maths. So we've then gone straight into our main salon duties. So maintaining a safe, healthy and clean environment. Assisting senior colleagues to deliver salon services. Engaging positively with clients and promoting a positive image of yourself and the salon. That one there, important, a positive image of yourself is very important. This is where a lot of apprenticeships candidates sometimes struggle, because a salon owner will want you to have a particular look about yourself, hold yourself in a particular way. And sometimes, again, those skills can be really hard to learn if you've not spoken about them or learned about them from school. But again, we'll look at positive self-image when we start looking at interview technique, again, in a few weeks' time. So greeting and gowning clients in readiness for hairdressing services. Preparing tools, equipment and products for services. Carrying out shampooing, conditioning treatments, removing colours, neutralising perms, and any other tasks deemed suitable under supervision if required. Answering the telephones, dealing with inquiries and making appointments. Processing clients' payments. Making and serving refreshments for clients. Promoting salon services and products. And then finally, ensuring that the salon is clean and tidy at the end of the day. So lots and lots of duties here, a very, very important role. So again, let's see how we'd break this down. So we'll take our role description again. Here we go. So we've again highlighted our main duties here. So our highlighted yellow duties are, again, our duties that we would want to try and highlight in our CV, in our covering letter in some kind of way. Not necessarily all of them, because it's quite extensive here, but a few main ones would really suffice here. Things like being able to maintain a healthy and clean work environment, having a good repertoire with our clientele, being able to process payments, good customer service skills. Those would be really, really good to highlight in those ways. But in our blue that we've got up here, we've highlighted a lot about practical experience, high standards of hairdressing, practical skills and theoretical aspects, and gaining a recognised qualification. So that suggests that this role is a lot more formal than our previous role. So we'd want to mirror that in our covering letter, in our CV. So let's again have a little look at the major key points from this to take away. So again, this CV, role is much more formal. Its greater emphasis has been put on high standards, professionalism, and client-facing responsibilities. So those must be highlighted in your CV or in your covering letter. Generally more so in your CV, but if we can pop them into the covering letter as well very briefly, that would also work. So this role differs from our first role that we've met because it's an apprenticeship. So more emphasis has been placed on education. So a passion for learning must be portrayed through your CV, through your covering letter. If you're not in education, showing a willingness to return to education would suffice in your covering letter here. It's been much needed. And then down here, just as a side note, as a daughter of an ex-hairdresser, so a little bit of inside knowledge, that salon duties here, they may seem easy. They may seem like typical duties that you would see at most hairdressers, but they can be extremely hard work. You're on your feet, you're meeting the public, you're dealing with public, You're dealing with people's personal image, which can be quite a sensitive topic. So having a sense of resilience, having a sense of confidence would really, really support your CV here. So again, let's have a little look at an example of our framework being carried out in a CV. So let's have a little look. So we've got a fictional CV of an apprentice hairdresser applicant here. So this is Sally Johnson. So with any CV, which we'll look at, as I say, in our next few sessions, it's best to start off with a very brief personal profile, personal statement about yourself. So we've got Sally Johnson here. She's a level 2 hairdressing student at Croydon College and is looking for a part-time apprenticeship role to support her studies. Straight away, you're hitting that key point for education, professionalism. You want to be supporting your studies, supporting the particular role that you're applying for. It shows that you're committed to your education as well as the job. It's also backed up here when we've got hardworking and resilient and place perseverance and perfectionism as key skills that they hold in high regard. Again, it's hitting that key point for a professional work environment, high standards of work, etc. A bright and bubbly personality that would be willing to be an asset to any team that they're placed with and willing to support my colleagues with any task set. I'm looking for a salon that I can build a successful and long-lasting career with. So again, bright, bubbly personality describes a little bit about yourself, making it again more personable. The worst thing that I've seen in personal statements on the front of people's CVs is, I'm hardworking, I have great timekeeping skills, I am very punctual. That tells me nothing about you as a person. We make this statement personable to you. It's a personal statement, so make it about you. So straight away from this person, I can tell they're already at college, they're already working hard, they are holding their work in high esteem, high regard, they're bright and bubbly, they want to be part of a team, and they're looking for a salon to start their career journey. So straight away, this person to me seems like they'll be quite a good fit, not just your generic cookie cutter person that has the general soft skills. So the next thing we're going to look at is that person's work history. So we've got this here. So again, if you've not got a lot of work experience, it doesn't matter as much, particularly if you're applying for an apprenticeship role, but by putting down some experience, even if it's very, very short. So this particular work experience placement here may have been done during the first year of their hairdressing apprenticeship role, that they've had some experience with this, even though it's a very, very short time period. So in that first role, they've used that STAR framework. So they've talked about the situation they were in, that apprenticeship placement, their responsibilities, so the tasks they had to undertake, the action they took from those particular tasks. So shadowing experienced stylists, carrying out procedures on their own, washing and setting, washing and blow drying, all of those kind of things. And then what that led to, so led to them becoming more confident in their professional manner with clients, allowing them to have their own clients at the end of their apprenticeship. So again, that particular few statements there, that explanation of that particular role, even though it's short, still tells me they've gained a lot from that very short period of time, that month, that 2-week placement that they had. Doesn't matter what it was. So education at Aston High School, 10 GCSEs, grades 7 to 4, including a 5 in English language, 6 in English literature, 5 in mathematics, and a 6 in double award science. So a big mistake I see on a lot of CVs is that people like to list every single GCSE that they've sat. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but if you're applying for, say, a graduate role or an apprenticeship role, you will already have had further education at some degree. So whether that's a BTEC or an MBQ or A-levels, you've got something greater than just GCSEs. For this particular person, I just mentioned the college, as I believe that for this particular individual, a level 2 apprenticeship would be where they're starting at, but they've received their GCSEs. We don't need to know every single GCSE grade. I don't have to know your GCSE result for RE. Just telling me how many GCSEs you sat, the range of grades, and then the important ones that we need. So English, maths. Science would be a good one to mention here because it will fit our role a bit more. Hairdressing uses a lot of science. So by highlighting that science skill, I can already tell that your skills should be generally pretty good when it comes to talking about the science around hairdressing. So by highlighting each individual GCSE or A level, that will really make your CV stand out, save space, and be able to give you more room to talk about other things using that STAR framework. So again, great CV, very short here. We could pad this out a little bit more with a bit more about education, maybe a few hobbies, awards they may have won, competitions that they may have won, etc. But this is just a perfect starting framework for a CV. So if you've not got your CV or you're just starting to write one, this is really a good place to start. And then we can pad that out. We can make that more official looking when we come to our CV workshop. So we're nearly there, you'll be glad to hear. So let's have a little look at our last role that we've got here. So this last role is going to shape how we would answer interview questions. So this role is looking at a customer support analyst. So again, you can read into this as you'd like. You could read this as a more IT facing role, or you could almost read this as almost being like a call center operative. But in both of those roles, you're going to need a really, really good background of IT and customer service skills to apply for this role. So let's take a little look at this role itself. So customer support analyst. As a customer support analyst, you'll have the opportunity to analyze different software issues, engage with our dynamic client base, and provide excellent customer experience. You are in a key position to be the primary port of contact for a broad variety of customers and assisting them with a wide range of technical questions and issues. We rely on you to listen to and understand our customers' needs from their perspectives. Using our troubleshooting skills and technical savvy, we trust you to meet their needs and deliver them at a consistent professional service with patience. So again, very forward facing, very customer facing. Key responsibilities. So ensuring existing and new solutions are optimized and scalable to ensure continuous support needs are minimized. Be highly knowledgeable about our business domains. Work with development teams and support teams to ensure our services and products are delivered to plan and customers are satisfied. Seek improvements to the level of customer service continuously. Build and maintain digital solutions our company provides in accordance with requirements prioritized by by product management team. And about the organisations applied for this or published this particular role. So this particular role was published by Acer Thinker Limited. So Acer Thinker Limited is an innovative company in the digital industry concentrating on multimedia solutions. We provide solutions for people to process multimedia fields, edit PDFs, recovered lost data, and more. All of our software solutions are developed to fulfill business and daily digital needs. And what's great about this role description, which none of our role descriptions have shown so far, it's talking a little bit about the organisation as a whole. We also have their goals, their organisational goals. So to become the world's leader or leading software provider of multimedia tools, e-learning solutions, and more. We also have their vision here. We take great pride in developing multimedia, business, and data solutions for our customers without a learning curve. Really, really important there. And their mission is to be devoted into fulfilling needs of digital users in a better way and making digital life easier than ever. So a great role description here, a really all-encompassing role description. So not only have you got an idea of what you'd be asked to carry out, your key responsibilities, you can also glean some information about the kind of responsibilities that you would have in that beginning paragraph. You've got a bit about the company there. I always recommend, before applying for any particular role that you may have your heart set on, to do a bit of research about the company. Luckily enough, this role description here has done it for us. I would still read more about the company, find out a few key details that you can bring up when being interviewed. But this is absolutely perfect to really get an idea of how the company is, how the company works, how you would fit in. So again, let's highlight some sections. So here is our highlighted sections. So again, our teal tells us about the kinds of skills that we're looking for. It tells us what we'd want to show in our CV, our covering letter, or highlight in our CV, our interview questions. Again, our yellow shows the key skills and key responsibilities of that role. Being knowledgeable about products, services, business domains, competition would really help, particularly in interview here. So knowing about the major competitors, people that are doing similar things in the field, learn about the kinds of products and services that they're delivering, what kind of multimedia that they're delivering would really, really help here when applying for this kind of role. Again, in green, it tells you what they do and gives you, again, their goal, their vision, their mission. Those are the kinds of things that, again, you would need to hit. You'd need to have a passion for it and put that across in what you're providing them in your CV or in your covering letter. So again, the key points from this is a very, very forward facing role. So being able to show that you can handle working with the public would be absolutely essential. And having those details here for the company, again, as we mentioned, remembering those details will work in your favour. Showing you know more details than what's provided here will really impress employers, HR members that would be doing your interview. So let's take what we know from our role description here and put that into some common interview questions. So let's have a little look. So tell us about a time that you face a difficult customer and how you resolve that situation. Again, similar to what we saw in our STAR framework, comes up a lot of the time. They'll either ask you for a time that you have dealt with a difficult customer, or if they know it's your first role, they may ask you to role play. So they may ask you, how would you deal with a particularly difficult customer? But again, keep that framework in mind. So we've got here a good answer to this question. Working in customer service for a home appliance retailer, so it could be something like your bog standard Argos, which wouldn't be very similar to the role, but again, highlights that skill of customer service. So again, they received a call from an irate customer. Her washing machine had been moved from the date initially booked, and when it did arrive, it was damaged. So there is your situation. So she listened, or they listened to her complaint and discovered she was a new mother and her anger was actually distress. So that is the task. They took an empathetic approach to the situation and established that the damage was cosmetic and it was fine to use the appliance whilst they processed an exchange free of charge. So that is the action they undertook as well. And then finally, they explained that they outsourced the delivery. So the switching of the dates was completely unacceptable. And they thanked her for bringing it to their attention and assured her that the issue would be taken to management so further investigation could be carried out. Again, this is a little bit more of the action they're undertaking. But by the end of the call, the customer was much more relaxed and apologised for her initial outburst, which was a great result. So again, they've given that outcome that the client was happier that this has been dealt with in a very timely manner. They were much more relaxed. The call handler here could deal with that situation and apologise for their company on behalf of the entire company. So again, this is a great outcome. This is often what you tend to do in customer service. You spend quite a bit of time speaking to customers, dealing with complaints and dealing with them and resolving them in a timely fashion. So great use of the STAR framework here. So another common question that you might get asked by looking at a customer service analyst is, tell us about a time when you went the extra mile for a customer. Again, this question really relates more to having previous work experience under your belt. So this may not always be asked, but if you've got that extra careers guidance or careers advice under your belt, they may ask you this. So again, a really good example here. So in my current role, I work for a company that provides software for remote collaboration. Again, straight away, it hits the nail on the head. This is what a organization or what this organization is looking for, someone that can provide remote software for collaboration. So great way to highlight that particular role. But they had a customer call who wasn't used to working remotely and was struggling to understand the basics. They talked them through what they needed to do to get on with their day, but it was clear it was going to be an issue for them moving forward. So there, we've got our situation that's completely set up. So after the call, I realised there was more I could do. I contacted them and asked them if they'd be interested in a virtual training session. So that's a task that they undertook as well as the action. The action is that they took them up on the offer and they set to work writing a training plan specifically for their needs. So there again, that was our action. So they then delivered that session, again, action, and the customer in question recommended them to not only themselves, but also other members of their team. And it was a pleasure to carry out, as they've mentioned here, and they're being fed back that the session went down really well, and that the customer now is working at better capacity, better productivity. So again, that's our result. So our STAR framework again is used here and answered that question really simply. So that is how we tend to use our STAR framework. It's really good for all different manners of career planning and career application. So as we've seen, we can apply it to a covering letter, to our CVs, to our interview questions, and by just keeping that brief framework in mind when you're delivering stories. So if you're working, as I say, on a one-to-one to myself, we'll talk about how to keep STAR in the back of your head, how to make sure you don't waffle on and keep it to the point. But by doing this with family and friends, carrying out a STAR exercise with other people, getting other people to interview you and using that framework to tell that story without telling that particular person and seeing if it differs with the way that you'd normally tell a story, that would be a great way to practice using this framework in your everyday life. So this is a great framework to practice day in, day out, until you start to hone that skill and it starts to feel more familiar to you, and it starts to feel more second nature. So thank you so much for attending today. As I say, this is our second career advice service, so do keep an eye out for more. We'll also ask you if you can complete the feedback link for this session, if you've learned anything, what we could do better, etc. And if you're interested in attending more of our sessions, here's a link to our Eventbrite page that has all of our careers events onto it. But you can also Google or go onto Eventbrite and have a little look for GlamSci's careers advice support, etc. So again, I want to thank you all so much for attending. Thank you so much for allowing me to record, and best of luck, and hope to hear from you again soon. Thank you again. Bye-bye.